What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 264th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I am your host, SBJ, and with me is Micah.
Hello.
This is a hello. This is a disaster of an episode already.
Give me 1 second. I need to put Logan back in his cage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no Logan this week, no Will this week, no Travis this week. We're recording this late on a Sunday. I was out of town all weekend, and I've been sick all week. Still very sick, very ill. I want to die. I'm in so much pain right now. We got a good show for you, though, besides my mouth feeling like somebody punched me in the face 100 times. We have Baer on this episode, so if you are a new listener to the Pokemon Podcast, welcome. Pat was outstanding. That interview was last week. It should be somewhat in the middle of the show. If you're just looking for that interview, I would check the description of the episode. Otherwise, it will probably appear right after our news segment. Otherwise, our show is pretty straightforward. We got some Pokemon news. We have the interview with Pat Baer. And then we're just going to do a couple emails this week and our Pokemon of the week. Just Mike and I holding it down, but I think we'll be able to manage.
As the other hosts disappear, I feel myself growing stronger.
Good. It's like
consuming their power. It's like that Jet Li movie 1.
I was going to say, it's like Persona 5. We just
or that.
take two personas and merge them into one.
Or the way more relevant comparison.
What, the Jet Li one? I don't know that.
No, Persona is way more relevant than a Jet Li movie from like 2000.
Oh, okay, good.
For some reason, I went straight to 2000 movies, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's just jump into Pokemon news, I guess. Cause
maybe I'm not getting stronger as the other hosts disappear.
Not. Maybe it's back up a little bit.
Maybe it's getting worse.
We'll cut
all If you're new,
this.
I apologize. Welcome. I'm not usually here.
First bit of news is grass-type Pokemon to be more common in Pokemon Go this weekend. This news will probably be long gone by the time this episode is up, but a new promotional event in Pokemon Go, the Grass Weekend, will occur from May 5th to May 8th, 2017. During this event, grass-type Pokemon will be more common. Additionally, during the event, lure modules will last 6 hours instead of 30 minutes. I saw more Spinarak. That's not a grass Pokemon. That's a bug.
I saw Sunkern for the first time.
I got like 4 Sunkerns. I'm still no closer to Sunflora.
Yeah.
But what a weekend.
What an incredible weekend. I really feel like Pokemon Go is making a heavy return.
Yep.
It's sarcasm.
I don't get why they just didn't make that a week.
Yeah.
Why? Like, why 3 days? I don't get it. But it's cool that they keep doing stuff. I just wish it was longer, especially since, like, all right, now it's back to normal for however long.
It was so understated too that by the time I realized it was a thing, I was like, oh, well, the weekend's pretty much over.
Yeah. Yep. Midnight Form Lycanroc will be available via serial code for the American region games from May 15th to June 5th, so don't rush out right away. These codes will be available at GameStop stores in the United States. It will be distributed to promote Gardens Rising, which will be released in the United States on May 5th. This Lycanroc will be level 50, have the ability No Guard, which is its hidden ability. It will be holding a life orb, and we'll know the moves Stone Edge, Fire Fang, Sucker Punch, and Sword Stance. Get yourself to GameStop, pre-order some games, buy some booster packs.
Subscribe to a magazine. That's still a thing?
Yeah. What's it called?
Game Informer.
Game Informer.
Get your power-up rewards. Get your deals on used games. Don't buy new games. They don't get a cut of that.
I don't know if I don't want to get too off topic because, again, my mouth is killing me. So I feel like the more I talk, the more I just endure this pain. But I do have a semi-good GameStop story. When I worked there for about 6 months, which was probably like 12 hours over the 6 months because GameStop has the worst hours / policy of how you work ever. There were a lot of people that would get the magazine subscription for the discount card because aren't you, if you're like a GameStop member, you get like 10% off used games or something like that.
I believe that's the only way you get it is you pay like $15 or whatever it is, and you get the card and the magazine.
Yes, you get 12 months of the magazine. So, I mean, if you shop at GameStop a lot and you only buy used games, it does pay for itself. But there would be a lot of customers that wouldn't want the magazine at all. And this was like 2006, 2007. So this was kind of before like iPads and stuff. This was when magazines were still pretty relevant. But one of the dudes that worked there, anytime somebody said they didn't want the magazine, the GameStop system still required an address. You still had to send the magazine somewhere. So he would just put his own address in. So every month he would get like 14 to 15 Game Informers delivered to his house.
That's incredible. That sounds like the worst layer of hell.
Yeah,
the worst one. Just endless supply of Game Informer magazines every month.
I mean, if you had a fireplace, you're really saving on your heating bill, I would assume.
Isn't that like with the ink and everything though? Isn't
that is probably really bad for the environment.
Oh boy.
This is
I know that feeling though. I worked at GameStop too, and it's
bad.
It's not good.
This is off Polygon.com. Pokemon Stars rumor fly after new merch seems to drop a hint. The Japanese Pokemon Center is adding a new line of merchandise inspired by Cosmog, one of the starring legendary monsters in Pokemon Sun and Moon. The Look Upon the Stars collection is a perfect fit for any starry-eyed Pokemon, but many fans also see it as an obvious nod towards the rumored Pokemon Stars, the 3DS's follow-up game. Pokemon Stars first entered the lexicon in, that's a fancy word, lexicon, in November, right around Sun and Moon's launch. Eurogamer reported that a director's cut of the 3DS game by that name would be heading to the Nintendo Switch sometime in 2017. We have neither seen nor heard anything more about the rumor project since then, but fans are taking the series of Pokemon-inspired items by the stars as a tall tale sign. That was a joke.
There's been a lot of star puns in this so far.
Yeah.
I look forward to the rest of them.
I believe, Allegra Frank wrote that. We've had her on the show. She's fantastic. Eurogamer's Tom Phillips helped leak the spectacled charge, lifting an eyebrow at, I feel like Pokemon knows what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. I would say that it's definitely something that they're aware of, and whether or not they're actually hinting at, like, ooh, Pokemon Stars is coming, here's some hints in some wordplay. Or they're doing it because they know that everybody is expecting stars and it's not going to be stars, and they're doing it just to mess with everyone. I feel like either is possible.
They've messed with us before, right? I feel like they have. Oh yeah, they definitely have, because they've showed, like, Sylveon was messing with us. That was a new type. They purposely teased that without saying anything.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. The worst company ever. Japan gets a lot of collections that we don't get. So if the Looking to the Stars connection comes to the US Pokemon Center, I would probably give that a little more weight.
Yeah.
But we'll see. This really isn't news. It's kind of hard to report on, but I don't know if you saw it, Micah. There was a video / GIF going around of Pikachu getting like mugged off stage. Did you see this?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me?
At the Pokemon World Festival 2017 in South Korea, which happened just a couple days ago, there was a bunch of Pikachus dancing, as Pikachus do in the Asian continents that we don't get blessed with here in the United States. So there's probably 14 Pikachus dancing, and one of the Pikachus in the front row starts deflating, like its head begins to sink into each other. And very quickly, 5 people in what looks to be FBI / Secret Service suits come out and quickly drag the Pikachu away as the other 13 Pikachu continue to dance.
Oh,
that's
terrifying.
There's no news there. It's just that
it's just something that happened.
Japan is very on top of making sure that no one sees a deflating Pikachu.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess it would be really horrifying for children.
Yeah. And,
I'd also like to point out real quick that you referred to them as the Asian continents. I'm going to give you a pass, though, because you're sick.
The continent of Asia? How's that?
All the continents of Asia.
Yeah.
I would assume it's
dropping the ball.
It's okay. I would assume it's so that it doesn't give any children nightmares. I haven't seen the image, but from the description, it sounds like maybe.
Also, I mean, I would assume it's like the same as like a fashion show, right? If somebody falls, you address that situation as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're on top of their Pikachu. The fact that they had not like one or two people quickly remove the Pikachu, it was like 5. Like, that's some dedication to the art.
This sounds hilarious.
This is from the voice creak. This is from CNBC. Halo, Pokemon, Street Fighter added to the Video Game Hall of Fame.
Oh, that was a lot of emotions in one sentence. I didn't know where it was going.
Let's get those 3 out of the way. Let's talk about the most important one. Donkey Kong.
Welcome to the Donkey Kong cast.
Finally, the love of Pokemon and Donkey Kong merged together in one news article. Donkey Kong, released in 1981, was one of the first games directed and designed by Shigeru Miyamoto, who went on creating several iconic video games at Nintendo, such as Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda. Donkey Kong was an arcade machine featuring the character Jumpman, as he attempted to rescue his girlfriend Pauline from Donkey Kong, a large ape who threw barrels at player. Jumpman became the inspiration for Nintendo's iconic mascot Mario, who has starred in 200 video games. Really? All right.
I can imagine that.
Without like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Without Donkey Kong, there would be no Super Mario Brothers. A member of World Video Game Hall of Fame, John Paul Dyson says, but Donkey Kong is much more than one character. It's an overarching narrative of love, and its vibrant graphics brought a game to life that few others could in the early 1980s. It captures the hearts of a generation. And rest in peace. Hashtag Donkey Kong channel was well lived in our Slack community.
Shout out to the Donkey Kong channel. You'll always be missed.
We tell stories. Or if you join Slack, you hear stories of the Mayo War or the debacle,
There it is.
Which happened before and or after the Mayo War, but only recently active Slack members will remember the Donkey Kong channel, which is one of the happiest moments of my life.
It was incredible. I vote that it comes back at the first sign of a new Donkey Kong game.
I agree with that. The other news here, Pokemon Red and Green. The original games first released in Japan in 1996 and later released as Pokemon Red and Blue in North America, Europe, Australia became a cultural phenomenon. As well as several games, the Pokemon franchise includes toys, a trading card game, a long-running television series, and several films. The game required players to capture, train, and fight monsters with the main objective of collecting 151 unique Pokemon. A clever element to the game was that certain monsters were exclusive to one version of the game, meaning players had to meet in real life to trade their monsters with another or own both versions of a game. This continued relevance and popularity of the brand was viable last year with the Pokemon Go craze, where players would use their phones to walk around real-life locations in order to find and capture monsters. But, so CNBC, a bunch of other sites reported on these games getting entered. Donkey Kong, Halo Combat Evolved, Pokemon Red and Green, Street Fighter 2. Looks like just a couple others. So others that have already joined in the past were Doom, Grand Theft Auto 3, Legend of Zelda, Oregon Trail, Pac-Man, Pong, The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, Space Invaders, Super Mario Bros., Tetris, and World of Warcraft.
All of those before Donkey Kong is depressing.
Yeah, it's a real shame. The fact that Sonic made it in before Halo is...
Well, at least they're correcting the error of their ways.
That's right. That's true. So, congrats to those games for being entered. From CBS 58 here, will Pokemon Go reemerge in Milwaukee? There's a video to go along with it, but I'll go ahead and read the copy. Pokemon Go was the talk of the world last summer in Milwaukee, had one of the best places to play, Lake Park. There have been some changes at Lake Park. Quote, everyone running and laughing and having a great time, said Steve Black Jr. from a once bustling Pokemon Go spot in Lake Park. quote, that experience is so contagious. That's like an experience I will never forget, end quote. Milwaukee's resident Black Jr. is a big Pokemon guy. Where did they get this information from?
We had that guy in the show.
Yeah, he's no Pat Baer. I'll tell him that. He's been hosting a Pokemon podcast called It's Super Effective from the Brew City for 7 years. Quote, honestly, I thought it would be big, but I didn't think it would be as big as it became, end quote, said Black Jr. Can't wait till that guy changes his last name. It was huge.
What a mistake.
The CEO of Niantic, the developer of Pokemon Go, said in a speech on February that the game has been downloaded 650 million times. It crushed Apple Store records in the first weeks. Milwaukee's Lake Park was a primo spot for players that played last summer and fall. And it kind of went on. There's a video to go with it, but Mikey, you've been to Lake Park. We've talked about Lake Park in the past. It's
absolutely
still exists.
Can I just everybody should watch that video because it has not because there's someone that we know in it, but because it has my favorite Pokemon Go pun of all time. When the reporter says, will Pokemon stay or will Pokemon go? And I lost it, and I have a screenshot of the graphic that they made for that, and I've been circulating it because I think it's hilarious.
It was funny because that reporter, we probably talked for like 30 minutes, and they ended up using 20 seconds of my audio, which that's like classic news reporting.
Right.
But apparently he said if like the spot got traction on TV, they'd cut it into a longer segment. I don't know. Either Pokemon Go is still a hot topic in Milwaukee, or news has been that slow that they had to come out and find me to report on something. But
I think it makes sense right now because it's on the cusp of summer games becoming things that were popular last summer becoming relevant again as we get closer to summer.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Probably like the same thing if it's nearing Christmas, what toys are you going to report on? So Lake Park, I don't know if we talked about this last week, but when I was there's the waterfall area, which we've talked about before. The big thing there was 3 spots. People would just sit by the waterfall, get all 3, put their lures down, and then the big debacle.
Lures and debunkles.
The big debacle was they removed one of the spots. So when I was there with the CBS people, the spot was back. And so we talked about how like the Pokestops now close at like 9 or 10 p.m.
It would be really great if Niantic was just
slowly adding them,
just returning them, and assuming that like the old out of touch people who were in charge of passing that law to get them removed in the first place, just assuming that they're not paying attention, and they're not, so they're just returning them one by one. I'm assuming that's not the case, but
well, I mean, like, what if they did remove them back? I don't think it's possible for Pokemon Go to be as big as it was last year, so I don't know if they would actually notice.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure there's some cranky old dude who's like walking through the park once a week going, well, how many stops are here? Gotta make sure.
I'm sure there's not. If there's somebody in Milwaukee that cares that much, I would want to interview that person.
I have very little patience for anybody that was involved in that at all. I just want to say before you move on, I will say I listened to last week's episode, and I do agree with you that when it's closed, it should be closed. Like, I think that should apply to all parks. If you're enforcing that the park is closed, you can't complain about that. You can't be upset that you can't be in the park past the time that the park is supposed to be closed to play Pokemon Go, because it's the law. Just don't do that.
I don't want my tax dollars paying for a police officer to yell at 21-year-olds to go home.
Well, and I think it's a perfect example of like it makes it worse for everybody else when there's a group that's just blatantly ignoring the law in that regard. And I think that was part of why it got so much heat here, maybe. Like, I think it was a dumb response completely to remove it, but I also think that it made sense that it went in that direction, or that it got that much attention because there was so much like blatantly ignoring the law at Lake Park.
Yeah, we go on, but We'll wait for more Lake Park news because I'm sure there will be.
I'm sure there will be.
Summer approaches us.
Tune in for the Lake Park saga.
Get it here first.
Offshoots podcast.
The only podcast out of every podcast reporting on Lake Park weekly.
Zero competition, I'm sure.
Last bit of news here. Sun and Moon Guardian Rising's expansion is now out. The second expansion of the latest Pokemon trading card game series, Sun and Moon Guardians Rising, is now available in stores. Visit Alola for Pokemon fun, from beaches to mountain peaks, and discover new traditions and challenges in Sun and Moon Guardians Rising expansion. Meet the Island Guardians and sharpen your skills with Kahuna Hala and Captain Mallow. Be amazed of the secret powers of Komodo GX, Lycanroc GX, Sylveon GX, and many more Pokemon. Features of the Sun and Moon Guardians Rising expansion include new Alolan Pokemon, more brand new Pokemon, introducing the Island Guardians. It looks like Tapu Koko GX and Tapu Lele GX will join the battle. Over 140 new cards, including 12 new GXs and 3 full art supporter cards, 2 new theme decks. These 60-card pre-constructed decks feature the legendary Pokemon Solgaleo and Lunala, are designed to introduce players to the Pokemon TCG by enabling them to play right away, and booster packs to contain 10 additional cards from the expansion and a code card for the Pokemon trading card game online. So there you go. If you're still playing the TCG, spend your money.
I'm curious to see if the Tapus are gonna be like, I haven't looked at the cards, but if they're gonna like dominate competitive the way they have in the games.
I'm sure 1 or 2 will. I'm out of the loop right now, but it's pretty much they make one of those featured legendaries really, really good. Whether, I don't know, but there are always Pokemon that they always make good. Like Darkrai is always good. Mewtwo is always good. Mew is almost always good. Usually like the Charizard line or the Squirtle line. I don't know why I said Charizard and Squirtle. Those are the defining Pokemon in those lines. Those lines
are the ones on the boxes.
Yeah, those
Charizard
lines are
on one, Squirtle
pretty
on the
okay.
other.
Usually, like a grass line is usually always bad. I don't know. There's a lot of like Smeargle is always good. It always like seems like Smeargle is good. So there are Pokemon that they really like to push in card form. So I would be curious if there are any returners where it's like, oh, Garbodor again, probably going to be good because Garbodor is usually pretty okay.
I like Smeargle.
Smeargle is almost always good.
But I also don't play the TCG. So.
So what we'll do now is we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do our interview with Pat Baer, probably our most Pokemon-heavy interview that we've done in a while. Pat talks about both Pokemon Go and both Pokemon Sun and Moon, so lots of new thoughts and opinions there. And then when we come back, we're just going to do like 2 or 3 emails, and then we'll do our Pokemon of the week. So we will be right back. Done dance. A boot dance. Dance. Done dance. A boot dance. Done dance. A boot dance.
Abundance.
Done dance. A boot dance. Done dance. A boot dance. Done dance. Boot dance.
Abundance.
Done dance. Boot dance. Done dance. Boot dance. Done dance. Boot dance.
Abundance.
Done
dance.
And we are back from our break with our guestee. I have Mr. Pat Baer from. Are you in the Bear Cave right now?
Yeah, I'm here in the Bear Cave. There is a microphone and a camera somewhere, so we are live from the Bear Cave.
Awesome, that's great to hear. You said you were a comedian, so is that? Mm-hmm. I want to know a little bit just about you outside of PAX and everything. Is that your full-time job? Is that just a thing you do on the side?
So Yeah. Well, so my full-time job is I work and perform at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York. I've been performing here for 16 years and working here for 15. I started in the intern program, became a tech person, and now I'm the head tech of both of our New York venues. And my day-to-day is being in charge of all the other tech people, and then at night I am running lights and sound for shows, and that's kind of my day job. And then I audition for things, look for me in episode 1 of season 3 of Difficult People that's coming out on Hulu this year. I do a little bit acting, not a lot, but a little bit. And then I do comedy shows at night when I'm not teching. One of the shows that I used to do at UCB is actually the show that I do at PAX called 404ing It. It is a comedy panel show that looks at the best parts of the internet. And that's a show that I developed to be done on stage at UCB, and then realized, oh, this is a show that works for anybody. I could do this anywhere, and PAX felt like a good fit for that.
Pat, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. I actually discovered you at PAX.
Okay, yeah.
Mostly through the Giant Bomb guys, since you seem to have them incorporated with your stuff.
Yeah, I'm a comedian in New York. Because I work at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, I've been able to kind of mash my comedy life with my video game life. Like, I'm just a fan of video games and also a fan of people that talk about them. And so I became friends with a lot of the Harmonix social media people because they would come to New York and they would come see shows. And then I had become friends with some of the Giant Bomb folks. And when it came time to start doing panels at PAX, it was a natural thing to be like, oh, well, let me invite Ryan Davis to be on my panel because he's very funny. And also, he has a lot of Twitter followers, so people will come to my panel if he tweets about it. And then when it was time for League of Heels, which is what the Bear Cave references, Aaron Treitz and Eric Pope, formerly of Harmonix, had decided they were going to do this big wrestling video game panel. And I'm a huge wrestling fan and also a performer and someone that's good at producing things, so I volunteered to kind of help out with that. And now Aaron still does the brunt of the work, but I'm definitely there to help him 2 to 3 times a year with what is too much work for a panel. And it's I appreciate it, because here's the thing. So people that have never been to PAX, but they've been to conventions, they know there's a couple different kinds of panels, right? There's informative panels on a very important topic that people are really interested in getting to, like how to get into the games industry, where are we headed, and stuff like that, or how to speak to this kind of character, how to make an RPG. And then there's also like, here's some people doing a thing, we make fun of this thing. But no one does it on the scale of League of Heels. The idea of getting upwards of 30 people together to play an old video game and have personas and costumes and characters and a 5-person camera crew and live streams, and it's really excessive, but still some people's favorite thing at PAX, and that makes me very happy to hear.
That's awesome. I do want to get to that a little bit more.
Yes.
But let's back up a bit.
This is a Pokemon podcast, right? So we should probably talk about Pokemon. How
did you get into Pokemon? Where was the discovery of the franchise for you?
For me, it started with the, cartoon. I've been a gamer for a long time, but I was never really a portable gamer. I was more of a console at-home gamer. So I never had an original Game Boy. I think my first Game Boy was a Game Boy Advance. So I never had a Game Boy or Game Boy Color. It just never appealed to me. I had consoles and a TV, so I always just played that. So I would get occasionally I would rent a Pokemon game that was for the home system that I didn't quite understand. I remember the GameCube games were really weird in a way that I liked.
Yeah.
But there were Pokemon, I don't know, there was dark evil versions of Pokemon or something.
I think that was Gale of Darkness was the GameCube game.
Yeah, there was, and I remember liking that, but my friends were really into it. So when I had a Game Boy Advance, I gotten one, a Pokemon game had come out. I mean, maybe it was Crystal or Emerald.
so many gemstones in the Pokemon world.
Yes.
Yeah, those are both games.
Yeah, I only know is it was the third, they put out the 2, and then there was like the third one that comes out, and it comes out kind of late, and it's a combination of the two games. I got one of those, just kind of on a whim, and then I realized, oh, this is an RPG system that I really I like and I get. So I was like familiar with the Pokemon cartoon and knew about like the different kinds of Pokemon. So when I realized like, oh, I actually like this kind of RPG, then I kind of got really obsessed with it.
Did that continue, whichever series it was, Crystal, Emerald? Did you then continue getting them as it went on?
I have gotten Pokemon games ever since. And so it'd be one of the things where it's like, oh, a new Pokemon's coming out. Time to upgrade my system. I have to get a DS because there's a new Pokemon game coming out. Or I have to get a 3DS because there's a new Pokemon game, and I haven't gotten that yet. I'll do everything I can in a game. That's my main thing, is that like I'm a completionist. So I still haven't finished my Pokedex for Sun, but I have like a lot of Pokemon. And I'm like trading with people for Moon, and I'm getting ready to do my trades just to trade back so that I'll get some evolutions out of trades. And I just like that, like, oh, I'm leveling up and power leveling to power evolve some Pokemon. And like, I kind of get into that, like, because I don't love Battle Tree. I don't really love like that kind of Game Plus.
Yes.
I should describe my day. So my day has a chunk of it dedicated to Pokemon, which is a weird thing to say, but I think once I explain it, your listeners and you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So I live in New York City, and I have a commute that involves both walking and the subway. So I walk for a couple minutes, get on the subway, ride that for like 10 to 15 minutes, and then I walk for about 15 to 20 minutes to my job. And that's 5 days a week I do that. The subway ride is Pokemon Sun is out, and I'm on an island, with my level 97 Pokemon, just beating Pokemon up, and then my party is just all Pokemon that are like level 3 to whatever, and I'm trying to level them up because I gotta get Vanillish, so I gotta power level it that way. And that's that. And then when I get off the subway, and then it's a 15 to 20 minute walk to work. So then I open up Pokemon Go. And the nice thing about living in New York is there are a lot of Pokestops because it's a very populated city.
Yep.
On my walk from 14th Street to 3rd Street along Avenue A, I'm collecting all kinds of stuff. I'm getting Pokemon. All my eggs are getting closer to hatching. I'll collect a few things, and my buddies walk in, so I'm getting some candy that way. And then I go to work, and then I finish work, and then I'll do basically the same thing in reverse on the way back.
You got a system.
So it's a system. It's a time killer. And then I'll still like crack open, like while I'm like killing time somewhere, I'll crack open my 3DS and like, I don't know, do some wonder trading or go to the Pelago and see if there's any new Pokemon that want to come be my friends so I can trade them away or whatever. Or like, I've got a little time. Let me open up Pokemon Go and evolve some Pokemon, and let me see what candies I need, and should I switch out my buddy? But like, instead of like listening to audiobooks, Pokemon is kind of like my commute activity.
Totally, that totally makes sense. If I was to take public transportation, I would probably be able to fit more Pokemon in my life. But my commute is a 32-minute car ride that I'm driving to and from work. So it doesn't really work like that.
Doesn't work like that, no. Yeah, so it's beneficial for me. It's a thing where, like, Pokemon Go, when it first came out, I was, like, going to neighborhoods I don't normally go to because you'd be like, well, I hear there are Charmanders over there, and for whatever reason, there's very few Charmander in... Fire Pokemon are kind of not in New York. So it was like, okay, well, I got to go there. And now it's just like, well, I'm walking in a park. Let me take out my phone, turn on Pokemon Go, put it in my pocket. Like, I'm not obsessed with catching them all, but I still would like to.
Sure.
Like, I still don't have like all the dragon Pokemon, and I don't have like, there's a bunch of the evolved starters in this. They released more Pokemon, as you know. I haven't gotten all of them, but like, I still like doing it. It's still like gamifying walking and working out a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I'm into. I like that.
For somebody who does both Pokemon Go and the main series games, And I feel like they've been out long enough where some people just kind of gravitate towards one.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one that you prefer, or are...
So I think that they serve different purposes and they hit different parts of my brain. Pokemon Go is, I would call Pokemon Go a card collecting game more than a Pokemon game, right? It's just a themed Pokemon game, or a themed game that happens, the theme is collect Pokemon, but it could be almost anything. Like the game that it's based on, which I can't remember the name of, but it was a Google...
Ingress.
Ingress, yeah. Ingress didn't appeal to me because I don't care about taking over bases in a cyberpunk future. Like, that's not a genre that I'm super into. And people are, and that's awesome. So I know a lot of people who are really into Ingress who aren't into Pokemon Go. But for me, the idea of, like, there's a Pokemon gym right near my work, and a friend of mine, a coworker, still plays, and so every once in a while we'll be like, okay, it's at level 7. Let's take over that gym. We can do it. And like that's appealing to me as a Pokemon fan for many years. Like walking around in the city and being like, oh, cool. Oh, wow. Yeah, I just got a Sand Slash. Awesome. Like that's fun for me in that, but it's not a Pokemon game, you know? And Sun, one of the reasons I really liked Sun is because it's trying to be a different Pokemon game. It's not, I'm sure this is well-worn territory, but like they changed it up.
Yeah.
They made it different. You know, you're sort of fighting an evil corporation, but it's not a Team Skull isn't your like main enemy. They're just there kind of. Like
yeah.
The idea of beating the like instead of gyms having it be like islands and challenges and having to do memorization, and I don't know, I think the characters are more fun and the stories are interesting. The idea of changing Pokemon types. Like, oh, you see a Persian, you know what a Persian is. Oh no, not in this game. You have to remember it. It's a different type of Pokemon than it was in the last one. Oh no, that Sand Slash is an ice type now. It's not a ground type. And like it's nothing major. It doesn't really change the game, but it felt like somebody was like, "Oh, we could just do X2 and Y2, or we could do, white and black or whatever, like, but what if we tried to make something a little different?" I like that a lot. I do enjoy it. So I guess to answer your question, I do lean more towards Sun and Moon and more traditional Pokemon games, but I'm not opposed to a Pokemon game that's branded that like Pokemon Go. I'm not, I still like it.
I'm in the same boat. I like them both.
I just stopped playing Pokemon Shuffle, which is just a match 3 game with Pokemon.
Yeah, but Shuffle's so good too.
But Shuffle's really good because it's a match 3 game with Pokemon. I don't play a lot of the dungeon games, the puzzle dungeon kind of games because like I don't really enjoy that genre. But it had Pokemon, like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon I bought because I was like, well, this is it's kind of fun to walk around with a bunch of Pokemon and like do a different type of battling, It's
like that that world provides sort of comfort, whereas like Ingress could fill the void of Pokemon Go, but like you said, you have no connection to a cyberpunk future. Yeah, to me it's like, oh, taking over a gym, that sounds great. Taking over this deli, because that's really all it is it just, oh, this is the deli. No, this is the deli that has a Pokemon gym. This is a Starbucks where you can get Pokeballs. I'm like, yep, totally into that. It's just, it's a little bit of a layer that is familiar. In the same way that, like, for some people, like, they would never touch a Dynasty Warriors game, but it's a Dynasty Warriors game with Zelda. Okay, and people will buy that because they love Zelda. And they're like, oh, I can be Link and beat up a bunch of, like, a tire screen full of dudes. Okay, I'm into it. To touch on Pokemon Go, just because I haven't been to New York in the past year or so, do you see other people playing Pokemon Go on the street? Is it still a thing there?
If you go to parks, you're still going to see people playing Pokemon. It's not as big as it was, obviously. When the Gen 2 Pokemon came out, there was definitely a bump. I live near a park in Brooklyn called McCarran Park, and there's a baseball fields and a track, and some parks that have. There's one park that has 2 Pokestops and a gym, like right in the same spot of the park. And so that used to be a place where you would see, because you could get 2 Pokestops without walking anywhere, you'd see like 30 people standing around. And then a rare Pokemon would happen. Like I've been in Stampedes. I've been in the like, oh, a rare Pokemon just showed up. And then some people start running, and then everyone's running, and everyone's got their phones out.
Yep.
And there's a little kid showing you the Pikachu that they caught, and they're really proud, and you like tear up just a little bit because it's just like this like cool, weird experience that you're having about a thing that like is so multi-generational. Like there's something amazing about seeing like little kids and their parents or their guardians like playing the game together, and couples walking around, and like and then like everybody, you know, because when it first came out, everyone had their like USB chargers, their phone chargers in their back pocket because it was draining so much battery.
Yep.
And it's not that as much anymore. But I still see people like the other day, someone gave me a really dirty look at when I was like walking through the city, and then I realized, oh, they thought I was trying to take over their gym. Like that's what I figured out, because there was a gym right there, and I had my phone out, and I was tapping on it, and they recognized that I was trying to take over the gym that they were defending, because suddenly there was like a yellow team there, and I was
Sure.
like, oh, that's hilarious.
That's really funny.
Yeah, so like it's still out there, but it's not the phenomenon it was. You're not gonna if you go to Central Park on a Sunday, you're still gonna see people, but you're not gonna see all the people you would see. There was like a Central Park entrance kind of by the Apple Store is that's where also a lot of the carriage ride horses are. There were like 3 Pokestops right there, so you would see a bunch of people standing around, like, and you know, and then you get to all the lures are out, and people are trying to get, you know, people are cracking eggs and trying to get as many Pokemon as they can. You don't see that as much these days, at least in New York. There other big cities, there might be more of a Pokemon Go scene, I guess.
The other game, switching to the other game, Pokemon Sun.
Yeah.
You seemed pretty happy with the changes they made, and it seems like you are still playing it even after the Elite Four and the Champion. Is that correct?
So there's the big thing about the old extra stuff, the new game plus. Like, so I'm attempting to fill out my Pokedex without having to like ask someone to just trade me the things I need. I'm trying to do it the right way through Wonder Trading and through leveling and through a little bit of the GTS store. The thing I really like is being able to go back to the Elite Four, and like it still doesn't make sense, but it makes more sense than previous games. Yeah, as you know, obviously previous games, you win, you beat the Elite Four, you beat the champion, you're the new champion, everything's great. You go back to Elite Four, it's as if you never went there, and the champion's still the old champion, and you beat them again. And like that's fine, except now I really prefer the idea that when you go back to the Elite Four, they're like, oh yeah, well one day I'm going to be in that spot, champ. And then you go sit back to the champion, and then almost immediately someone has beat the Elite Four and is now trying to challenge you, and you have to beat them to keep your spot. They never really talk about it in the Pokemon anime, but I don't feel like the champion, every time the champion wants to go hang out in their area, they have to beat the Elite Four every time. I feel like you don't have to do that. So that's a little weird. I like to think that like in the real Pokemon game, you're out doing stuff, and then someone's just like, hey, someone beat the Elite Four, are you around? And then you come back, and then that person's there.
Yeah.
But I love the
like,
random...
Look, guys, I just want to get to my chair.
Yeah, you're like, come on, golf lady. I know I could beat all of your Pokemon. We don't have to do this. My Pokemon are stronger than the last time we fought. But there's something really, I think, really interesting about like being the champion and being the crowned known champion, and then having people from other games show up, or the first trainer you see in the game show up, or your friends come like and be like, even the professor being like, well, I don't know, what if I was champion? That'd be fun. I did create the Elite Four, so we finally had one. I think that's a really fun twist on it. And to me, it makes it feel like the game world still goes on instead of being in a frozen state once you save the world or the universe or time itself or whatever, and then also then go and beat 5 people. I enjoy that it adds a little bit of like of the world doesn't feel as and of course there was all the extra stuff that came out at the end, like catching all the Ultra Beasts and catching some of the legendary Pokemon and beating all the Eevee trainers, and I think I've done everything except like I haven't gotten far enough in the battle tree to like beat Red and Blue. I haven't gotten that far. But I've done just about everything else you can do in the game, and I wish I don't know. I maybe I wish there was more at the end of the game, but I still really enjoyed it.
Would that lead into you wanting a third version of the game? Whether because there's rumors that it might be on Switch or whatnot, but Switch, 3DS, the new 2DS they announced, whatever it would be. Would you want to see a third version of this game?
Yeah, I always like that. I think that having a battleground style, like there's certainly battling there, but having a like extra, or if it's the 3D third dimension one or whatever it is, like having some extra stuff. Maybe maybe there's a safari zone on an island that we didn't reach, or you have to face the couple people. Like there's a couple people in the game that I wouldn't mind them fleshing out a bit. Like I'd like to know more about that weird painter person. She gives you a crystal and then later you fight her, but like there's nothing like what's going on with that. Like is there something more to Z moves that they can explore?
Yeah, it seems like the crystal lady. We haven't talked about that much on the show, but. Mm-hmm. I kind of forgot about her until you brought her up. It seemed like they created her and they were going to use her for something, and then they ran out of time, and they're like, "Hey, just give them the crystal. Let's move on. We don't have time for this." Yeah,
and it kind of makes sense that she's so absent-minded and kind of doesn't want to do this job, that she's like, "Here you go." But like, okay, so if they made a sequel, then you would need new challenge people, because those people have moved up to be in the Elite Four. Maybe there's some new Elite Four. Maybe there's some we've seen like a couple characters that are related to characters or are old characters. There's the big mystery with not the mystery that they just say but don't really talk about, the fact that like, oh, clearly the dude on this island that seemingly only you know about is like the dad, this missing guy who like who for some reason landed on this island, lost his memory, and then was just like, Pokemon could go in caves and collect stuff for you, and I just hang out here.
Here's a bunch of beans.
Yeah, here's some beans. I'm the bean guy. And like, that's definitely these people's dad and husband. And he's just on this island. Like, okay, what about that? Like, there are a few things that you could explore in the game, and I bet that's going to be in the that'll be in the anime, right? Because that's where they can do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I haven't watched the anime because I've always watched it dubbed. So I decided I'm going to wait. I'm not going to watch the fan subs because that feels weird to me.
I agree.
Because I'm just so used to it. I also was like, look, it's a minor thing. I'm not name dropping here, but it is a fact that like my friend Sarah is Ash. When Pokemon moved to Comedy Central, or no, sorry, Cartoon Network, I should say. When Pokemon moved to Cartoon Network and they redid the cast, my friend Sarah became the voice of Ash, and it's very weird. It's very weird to like know that. Yeah, but that's who Ash is to me. And like, even though they from the look of the anime, they like de-aged him, and like it's weird and almost like a reboot.
Yeah,
I don't know what's. Yeah,
they had the first 2 episodes on Disney XD, and I watched them, and I really liked them. I liked the new art style. I liked the animation. I liked all the voices.
Yeah.
But I've heard, just from people who've already watched the Japanese stuff, that it's more kid-friendly than ever, which I thought was a little bit of a bummer. Again, I haven't seen it, but...
But also that makes sense. Like, the thing with the anime was, like, it got dark. Like, the movies are dark because you can do that in movies. But even the anime itself, it's like, man, the world is being threatened again. And, like, I mean, we all remember the fact that there are Pokemon that aren't from this Earth, that are aliens that tried to hypnotize everyone and take over the world. That was like a Pokemon story arc for a long time, and then that was unresolved. There's a bunch. I mean, like, you know, freezing time, taking over the world, destroying the world, all that stuff. Like, Ash has saved the world so many times, but then still can't win like a Pokemon tournament.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I like the idea of kind of restarting it for maybe a younger generation, because who knows if the last series, you know, appealed to people. And like, the other thing is, if you kind of start fresh, then you don't have to have like, we don't need to have Brock come back. We don't need to have like Cynthia doesn't have to show up, and then you have to be like a kid who just started watching Pokemon last year, and you're like, who is this? I don't know who this is, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate that they're restarting it a bit. I don't know if it's going to be for me, but I'm interested in it. I like the idea of the kind of playing up the school element instead of just being like in the game where you went to school for like a day and you beat all of the kids in that school and then you beat the principal. You're done. Like, okay. Instead of like Ash has to go to Pokemon school with his buddy Pikachu. I think that's like a cool idea.
Totally.
It's kind of like when they rebooted Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was completely different, except it was Yu-Gi-Oh! But it was like kids at a weird school. I can't remember
going to
what
say it's like when they reboot Digimon every single season.
Yes, except that every Digimon is the same canon. As far as I can tell, like I'm no Digimon expert, but I believe that it's just like a new batch of people, but all the old people still have Digimon and they're all there and it's all one universe. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but you could start at season 3,
but you
and
could
not
start.
see,
Yeah, you could start fresh. And I think Pokemon became in the same way the game is a bit of a behemoth, which is why I appreciated, like, we were talking about some of the changes, and I didn't mention one of my favorites, which is like telling you on screen a move that is not effective or super effective or no effect once you've done it, once you've beaten that Pokemon type. Like,
it's an incredible change.
It's just a quality of life, because like, I don't remember what beats Fairy. Like, I do, but you know what I mean? Like, when they add a new Pokemon type, you're like, and then some Pokemon are now that type, but they were normal, but we didn't realize they were a Fairy type this whole time. And you're like, well, that means a different move. Steel is good now. Okay, I guess I have to have a couple Pokemon that have Steel types, because they're like, or Steel moves because they're fairies now, or whatever. It's nice to have that thing where it's like, oh, I don't know what kind of Pokemon this is yet. I will say this. My biggest criticism of Sun and Moon is that there were too many Pokemon that early on that we already had seen. For a while there, my main team was mostly Pokemon that I've already played in other games. And I think that's annoying.
Yeah.
Because it was a thing where like, oh, it's a bird type or a flying type, and it also has water moves. It's a water flying type. So I guess I'm going to use a Pokemon I've been using forever, you know?
Mm-hmm. My only complaint with Sun and Moon was, and it's only a complaint when you think about it in the future, they hold your hand a ton on that first island, and I think that's fine, especially because they're actually setting up a story too. But I always thought like, I completed Sun, love Sun, I have a copy of Moon. Man, I don't want to do that first island again. It was great the first time.
Yeah. And that's any Pokemon game. That's not any game, but that's a lot of RPGs. Like, I have every couple years I revisit, I'll either play the original Persona 4 or I'll play Golden on the Vita. And man, it's hours. You play for hours before you get to do anything. Like, it holds your hand, and you can't go out at night. And you can't do. It's like it's so hard to get over that first hump. But I love that. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So it's like worth getting over the hump. But it's really annoying. I was playing sidetrack a bit. I was playing Persona 5, and I'm not really into it. And I miss Persona 4 so much that I'm just watching the anime, because I was like, I'm not going to go back to PS. I'm not going to play Persona 4 again. I played it like less than a year ago. So I was like, I'll watch a couple episodes of the anime. It's like playing the game. Try to deal with that. But yeah, with Pokemon, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't mind restarting this game. It would probably hold my hand a little bit, but it might be nice to start off with some other Pokemon that I didn't play right away that I kind of let sitting around and then realize later it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. But I look at my main 6 right now, and some of them are, Gen 1 Pokemon or Gen 2 Pokemon. Like,
Right.
I did not enjoy that. Or if it had been those, it should have been the Alola versions of them, right? But not just, hey, here's a Magnemite. You caught a Magnemite, and it's electric steel, and you don't have either of those, so you're going to use it. But it's a Magnemite, and that's boring.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, so I ended up like switching things out, and I'm glad I did because like Toucannon is one of my favorite new Pokemon.
I love Toucannon. It's really
he's
great.
just so mad. He's just, and I love Pokemon that change personality when they evolve. I think that's such a fun thing. I wish more of the Pokemon did that. So to be like, I'm a tiny bird, I'm a bigger bird, I'm a giant toucan with attitude is very fun to me. But like I switched to him because I was like, even though I didn't have a strong water type at the time, I was just like, I don't want Pelipper or whatever. Like I don't want this Pokemon that I used in other games. So I kind of in that one instance I forced myself. And then like, I mean, there's some Pokemon that like Crabrawler I'm gonna put on my team no matter what.
Yeah.
Even though I think that his evolved form when he becomes half fighting, half ice, I don't think it's as good. I don't think he looks as cool, but Crabrawler is like the best. The fact that he always has a black eye and that when you like that he like wants to fight and is just like ready to go. He's just, and we've also obviously already had a punching, fighting crab. That's literally like lobster crab. Like that's not something new in Pokemon. But he's still just got so much personality that I totally love him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and one of the things about Sun and Moon is the Pokemon have personality because you're going to do your. They figured out how to do face touching in a Pokemon game. You go and take care of them. I love that Snorlax is so big you have to scroll up and is like asleep when he kind of wakes up every time. Like,
yeah,
I love the attitude that some of them have. I love that like. It's like, oh, this Pokemon is kind of like a teen owl. So he's like real like emo looking and then like kind of doesn't love that you're taking care of him, but he does. Like it's just like little weird touches that I think are really fun in that game and totally like there's always something about Pokemon that where it's like, hey, why did you spend so much time on this weird thing? Which I appreciate.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Too much Pokemon. No, I'm just kidding. That was awesome. You're going to be at PAX West.
Yes.
You are going to be doing your panel 404ing it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 404ing it. As I mentioned, it's a comedy, on purpose, funny comedy panel that looks at the best sides of the internet. Myself and 3 guests bring videos and photos and just sometimes we talk about like trending things that are like, hey, this is a cool thing happening on the internet. And sometimes it's just like, oh, thank God someone on YouTube uploaded this old weird instructional video because I would have never seen it, but now it's on YouTube and now we can all look at it. That kind of stuff. I like to say that my show is on purpose positive. And I've been doing it at PAX's for a number of years. I ran a Kickstarter, which ended on May 6th to send me out to Seattle so that I could go. And it will be filmed. I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/PatBaer, that has a playlist of all the 404 that I've done live. So people that want to kind of check out what I do can go and watch those live panels there.
Do you notice at those panels that you have a lot of first timers, or do you have a bunch of recurring fans, or how does that seem to play out?
So it is a mix. I have some people that just come because the description sounded interesting to them, which is great. I have some people that come because, oh, I never heard of your thing, but you have a guest. Like I try to be broad. Like people that look at my panels can see a pattern in which that I often, almost always, have someone from Giant Bomb. And one, that's because they're good at being presenters. They're used to it. A thing that some game devs and some game journalists don't have is, public speaking skills. It's not their forte. So I find the people that are good at that, and Giant Bomb folks are good at that, but also have a huge following, and that benefits me because if I'm in a room that seats 900, I'm going to do everything I can to fill those seats. But I also try to pick interesting people that maybe you don't necessarily know, but do cool, interesting things on the internet, or are just funny, fun people. So I try to mix the guests up, and I do get a lot of people that are like, I follow so-and-so on Twitter, and they said that they're going to be at this panel. And then they like it, generally, I think. I have a few people that were like, oh, I don't know anything about you, but Mary Kish said she was going to be here, so I came, and this is the best. And so and then I have friends who are like, I go to PAX, and this is one of the things I look forward to, and I work my schedule around it. I do have people that, they come to PAX East in Boston, and then they watch the PAX West one on live, or they watch my archive of it later. And vice versa. I have people that are like, oh, I can't go to every PAX, or I can't go to PAX anymore, but I still watch your panel. And that's nice. And then, like I said, there's some people that are just like, oh, I saw that on the schedule and it looked funny, and so here I am. Or you were at the Cards Against Humanity booth and mentioned that you had a panel. Or I watch League of Heels, the wrestling show, and I guess some of the people are also on your thing, so yeah, I'm going to that. It's nice. When I've done 2 of the 3 times that PAX South has happened in San Antonio, I've gone. I didn't go this past year, 2017, but I went 15 and 16, and that audience is mostly people who've never been to a PAX before, because most of that audience is people that flew in from other parts of Texas, because Texas is so stupid big.
So big, yeah.
That it's a convention for them, and it's their convention. And so I had a bunch of people that were just like, the first year there was only 2 rooms that did panels. So my panel was on Friday at 1:00, and was like 1,000 people came. And I'm
pretty sure that was me, because I was like, I think that's how I discovered you too, because you had a Giant Bomb guy. Yeah. There was really no panels. It was one of the first PAXs I've ever been to. I was like, I got an hour to kill. Let's see this. And yeah, it was super entertaining.
That one, I'm proud of that one. That one was really fun. My second PAX South was good too, and that one, was a bigger venue or audience. The audience had grown a little bit, but yeah, that first PAX South, people were just looking for something great, and I was happy to give them something, and I was so thrilled that Jeff Gersman could be there of Giant Bomb, because I was like, Jeff is a great panelist. I just had him this year in Boston again. He's one of my favorite guests to have, but I also was like, that's going to be real good, because people will come to see him, because if they haven't been to Boston or Seattle, they probably haven't seen him do a thing. So I'm a producer by nature and a performer, but I try to pick people that I think will be interesting. I also, it's very small, but if you watch like a bunch of my panels, you'll see 4 white dudes in their 20s and 30s. And then I slowly branch out as I've met more cool, awesome people. They happen to be not just like me, and that has been a nice thing to be able to do that. And sometimes those people are very well known in the industry. Austin Walker's done my panel a couple times, and people will know him very well. But then there are some people that I'm like, you don't know how awesome this person is. They're like an artist on the internet, and they're amazing, and you should check them out. Like, I've been able to start doing that because I'm not as worried as I used to be about putting butts in the seats, because I've now done it for like 5 years. So
yeah,
I feel
it seems like PAX kind of guarantees you in at this point.
There's always the chance that one time they'll be like, we don't have room for you. I don't see that necessarily happening. I have a good relationship with the people that put together from Reed that kind of put together the programming. Jerry knows my name and my face, which is nice to have. It's not that's not a guarantee of anything, but the staff, especially at Reed, know me and know that I generate an audience, and I do a panel that works pretty well on their Twitch stream because it's very visual. Whereas some panels just are people talking, and they're not as awesome to be live streamed. But I think my panel works pretty well there for audiences watching at home, and we have a good relationship. And then also, like, I am not a hard person to work with. I try not to be anyway because of my comedy background, because I'm the tech director and a tech person. Like, I know what my show, I know what 440 needs, and so I am a broken record about that, but I also know how to get it done and what I need to do to get it done. I don't show up and go, hey, we have a PowerPoint on a USB. I'm like, here's my laptop, here's my backup laptop, here's it on a USB just in case. It's on a Google Drive. Like, because my show is a PowerPoint, I have it on my phone, I have it on my iPad mini, I have my Lightning to HDMI adapter, I've got a VGA adapter for my laptop. Like, I might be a weird show to produce at PAX, but I'm not, I know how to get it done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same thing with League of Heels, our wrestling show, which we've been doing for a few years now.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. I know some listeners roll their eyes when they hear the word wrestling.
So so we're going to talk wrestling on a podcast. It's not about wrestling, aka every podcast has a little bit of wrestling talk in it. So here's the thing: the two things I hear from fans of our panel who come to the panel, I hear two things. One, I love wrestling. I'm so glad there's some wrestling here. And two, I hate wrestling. This show is so funny. I honestly feel, because the conceit is, there are two versions of it. The conceit is that once a year we play a Royal Rumble mode, which is 30 players, 4 at a time, and you fight until you get knocked out of the ring, and then someone takes over. And so we get 30 video game journalists and developers and comedians and musicians that are at PAX together, and some come up with characters. Some are, wrestling characters. Some are evil witches, and Steve Kim, Fobwashed on Twitter, just played like a esports Korean version. He is Korean, so he played like an esports version of himself that was really funny. Some people like have personas, and some people are just like, hey, I'm Chris Kohler from formerly of Wired, now Kotaku, and I'm playing this game, and I'm good at video games. Like, there's that kind of thing. And so we kind of created this mythos and the story, and then also once a year we do a more of a storytelling show where we play different games, and it's more about like trash talking, and it's called League of Heels because almost everyone is a bad guy because it's more fun. It's more fun to be an evil character than it is to be a good guy. It's so much so that it's very fun when we have a few people that are like, oh, no, the audience loves you. You're too nice. You have to be a nice character. It's very fun when the audience is like, no, your trash talk is adorable. Sorry. And one of the reasons I love it is because it's unlike anything else at PAX. It's incredibly presentational. It's a story. It's character work. It's a huge cast. And another nice thing about League of Heels is because it started with there still are a lot of Giant Bomb people in it. So we kind of drew from their audience and then built our own people that loved the Harmonix social media crew at the time, people that loved different game developers that came in early, that were early adopters. But then there are characters that you don't know. Like, one of our best champions was Samantha Kalman, who made Centris. She's an independent developer. She just joined up with a company, which name I can't remember where she ended up. It might have been at Amazon. Please don't quote me on that. But she just got a job. She's an independent developer that some people would never have met. But because she became our champion, a bunch of people were like, oh, let me go check this out. We hear that a lot. Like, oh, I never played Gang Beasts, but then one of the guys who made Gang Beasts showed up and he seemed so nice that I'm going to go play that game. Or I don't know anything about Iron Galaxy, but Dave Lang seems like a crazy person. So let me go play let me go play Dive Kick because that dude seems crazy and cool. And it's been a nice little way for us to kind of, you don't know Kate Welch, but you got to know Kate Welch because Kate Welch is awesome. And now more people will know Kate Welch because she's doing, she's on the C team for Penny Arcade's D&D game, Inquisitions Inc. They just started like a new live stream of that, like a weekly show, and Kate is on that. And so people are going to fall in love with how cool and awesome Kate Welch is. But also there are people who are just like, she had a Rocketeer mask, so that girl rules, that kind of thing. And then the other people that are just like, yeah, I don't care about wrestling, but I like seeing John Drake wear a suit made out of money. So I'm going to come to this weird show. And the people that love wrestling they get their fill. They get a little bit of wrestling, they get to see like WWE performer Xavier Woods cut a video promo package for us. And so they get to have that, and there are old school wrestling references and in jokes that we kind of pepper in for the diehard fans. And then there's people who just like, I played a lot of that N64 WrestleMania game, so WrestleMania 2000 for the N64. So it's nice to see that terrible game being played.
That's awesome.
So I'm the person that least. Everyone is very self-deprecating about League of Heels. We say it's terrible. We were like, oh, I can't believe they keep letting us do that. All that stuff. I'm the guy that doesn't do that because while there are some parts that drag, I honestly feel like it's a very cool, weird show, and the most unique thing at any PAX that you're going to see. I think it's a spectacle in a way that outside of the musical acts, no one is doing spectacle. Like, Cards Against Humanity does pranks and stunts, and I think that they're great at that, but their panels are still mostly like, hey, pitch us cards for our game, which is really fun. But I think League of Heels is the only truly weird, unique panel at PAX.
And so you're going to be at PAX West with 404 in it, and I'm
League
assuming
of Heels.
League of Heels is returning.
League of Heels, look, like I said, they could always be like, we don't want to do this anymore. And when it comes to League of Heels, they have case. We had an incident we had 2 years ago. We had to clear out a hotel room at PAX, so a hotel ballroom at PAX because of League of Heels. So there is probably justification for them being like, we shouldn't do this anymore. But also, all signs point to they're going to keep letting us do it. And I'll have another panel, possibly another comedy panel that's not 404ing it, but is similar in nature. That one, I don't know if it'll be approved, so I'm not talking vocally about it, other than to say, I submitted another idea for a panel, and they might accept it.
Got it. Cool. Well, I only have one more question for you, Pat.
Okay.
What is your favorite Pokemon?
I did some thinking about this because I thought you might ask.
It's a Pokemon podcast.
Yeah. I have two.
Okay. Okay.
And so my first answer for years and years and years, my favorite Pokemon was Makihita. Because I like Pokemon that look like humans. He's just a big. I like Pokemon like Snorlax. He's a big normal type that can learn a bunch of different moves. Like, I like a Pokemon that can learn Earthquake and Surf, and that looks like a goofy dummy. So I loved him forever. But I will say that my new favorite Pokemon is actually Snorlax. I never gave Snorlax a chance. I love Snorlax in the anime, and there's just something great. And in Sun and Moon, Snorlax helped me out in so many jams. And also, Snorlax's like personalized Z move is Pulverizing Pancake. It's so amazing. Watch it on YouTube if you haven't done it. I encourage everyone. Just from the idea that you're standing on a sleeping Snorlax, and then he turns to the camera and his eyes light up, and then it's just like, and then Snorlax is just amazing and just like fast and jumping really high and like being incredible. And to me, that's like my favorite thing about thinking about that Pokemon is Snorlax is just like, Snorlax isn't lazy. Snorlax is saving up its energy for when you really need Snorlax to save the day. And I love that. Snorlax is just like, yeah, I could run and jump around, or I could just punch a thing once a day. Like, there's something about Snorlax, and it's similar to why I love Makihita, is just like this, like, I like those kind of big, brawly, goofy Pokemon like that.
Sure. No, totally awesome. Where can our listeners find you and the cool stuff you do?
So I'm on Twitter. My name is Pat Baer. My last name is spelled Baer. I'm Pat Baer on just about everything. I'm on YouTube, as I said, and I have a playlist, my 404 playlist. And yeah, twitter.com/Pat Baer is the easiest way to find me. I am just, when this comes out, I will have finished with my Kickstarter to send my panel to Seattle. And so then I will stop talking about Kickstarter for a while, and my Twitter account will go back to being other promotion, but then also like fun stuff. And I a friend of mine told me the other day, he said, your Twitter account is like cool stuff you're doing, your opinions on things I don't know anything about, and retweets that are very funny. And I was like, okay, that's a pretty good summing up. I just ranted about the differences between Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden, the anime, for no one. I don't know if anyone appreciated that, but I had some thoughts on how weird the Persona 4 Golden anime is, and my favorite part of the Persona 4 anime, which I'm going to say right now. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, episode 13 of the Persona 4 animation is my favorite episode of that series because it is Nanako is trying to figure out what her big bro, Yu, the main character, has been doing at night and during the day because he's been really busy. And it's really her discovering that he has social links with all those random characters from Persona that like don't fight with you, like the old lady and the nurse and the kid that you tutor and the kid that you babysit. All those people like are interacting with you, the main character, and Nanako is like discovering it, and the other characters are discovering like, wait, does you have a girlfriend? Who's this girl? Like it's hilarious. It's like really fun. It's like a 2-part episode. It's 13, 14. And it's adorable, but it's also like world building in a way that anime is very good at. And I ranted about that, and there's like a few people that are like, "Oh, that sounds awesome," and some people were just like, "What are you talking about?" So that's my Twitter account.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
cool. Well, thank you so much, Pat, for being on.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
I hope to see you in Seattle. I hope my listeners, if they are also in Seattle, come out and check out your 404 Ring It panel. Because it's really great.
Do. Yeah, thank you.
It's really great. So when we come back here, we're going to do some emails and we're going to tackle our Pokemon of the week. So again, thank you, Pat, and we will be right back. Nope. 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 Kind of close. Nope. 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 No. No, you guys are close. Nope. 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 Way in the back. Nope. Nope. No. 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 Nope. 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 Way in the back. Yes. Got it. And we are back from our break. Let's big thanks again for Pat to be on. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that interview. Let's jump over to some emails. If you have any emails for us, any questions, comments, concerns, you can send that over to sbj@pkmncast.com, sbj@pkmncast.com, or you can go over to pokemonpodcast.com and hit the contact button. Both will get your emails to me.
Snail mail.
And snail mail. I should try to memorize my P.O. box. So I don't always have to look it up.
I could memorize it for you, and anytime I'm on, I'll shout it out because I'm a huge proponent of snail mail.
Alex writes in from Spokane, Washington. Hi, SPJ and crew. On the last episode 263, you guys talked about what Pokemon games could do instead of the Elite Four, and I've always wanted them to do more like the TV series and do a Pokemon tournament of the top 16 or 20 trainers, and you would face your rival in the finals, but the order of other trainers are random. I think it would add a lot more fun and replay value to the game. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Love this show and keep up the good job, Alex. Didn't they do something like that in Black and White with the tournament where they brought back all gym leaders and people got excited and then no one cared?
Did they do that?
I thought it was Black and White 2. They did some like champion tournament.
Oh, maybe.
It wasn't like structured like he's talking, but it was like something of like in Smash Brothers. You can like, set up a tournament.
Familiar. Yeah,
and I think in Mario, can you do that in Mario Kart 8? Actually, set up a legit tournament.
Well, the only way that you can, it depends. Which one? Deluxe?
I thought the Wii U one you could.
Oh, the Wii one, the Wii U one you could set up tournaments and then people could join them once you, I guess, I don't know, advertised it. I don't really remember.
When I say tournament, I mean like a bracket tournament.
Yeah,
yeah. Just like.
Oh.
Not just like 12 people.
I don't think there was there bracket stuff in Mario Kart?
There's bracket stuff definitely in Smash Brothers.
You're talking to like the least competitive play person on the planet right now.
I don't know if like a bracket at the end of a Pokemon game would be like that sounds cooler than it probably is in execution.
I think it would be cool to be able to do that for online play, for like play with other people. As far as like an NPC, are they saying like an NPC bracket that you would do?
Yeah, like everyone would be random except for you working your way up the bracket.
Right. Yeah, I could see it being really fun and being something that people really enjoy if it's for multiplayer. I don't necessarily know about against NPCs if it would be.
I do like the concept of a tournament though.
Yeah.
Because that is probably some of the best anime episodes is when Ash is in like a 8-episode tournament, and so you don't have the standard. We have an issue with one Pokemon. Team Rocket comes, tries to steal Pikachu. We solve the issue with the one Pokemon. Ash still refuses to catch the Pokemon because he's a terrible trainer, and then the episode's over.
And then also loses the tournament that he's in.
Yeah.
Because that's Ash.
But the tournaments don't have that story. They just have usually 2 to 3 battles.
Right.
Which makes it enjoyable to watch. I like the concept, Alex. I just don't know how you would execute that in a game without it feeling so time-wasty, I guess. I don't know. I feel like the Pokemon already is so sluggish in everything it executes.
Yeah, I even have a hard time doing like Battle Tower and stuff like that. Just because I don't know. I don't see the return on it, I guess. I'm not as interested in what I get in going through it or completing it or whatever. So I could see other people liking that, but me personally, it's not what I'm into.
Michelle writes in from West Babylon, New York. Hey guys, I just wanted to re-emphasize my appreciation for your podcast. As 2 of the 3 regular podcasts have ended with ISE being the only one left, I love that I can always count on you guys for an amazing show. I wonder what other podcasts threw in the towel. Secondly, I want to add that I continue to love how the podcast touches on more serious subjects. Last week, Steve shared his point of view as a part of an interracial couple, and it was so amazing to hear that I am not alone. My husband is Puerto Rican, and we certainly get treated weird, even though we live in New York. When we show up for dinner reservations, for example, I definitely get weird looks. I, the whitest girl ever, say my last name is Sanchez, then continue to get weird looks when my husband comes in from parking the car, and he's the only Latino in the building besides the busboys. What is sad to me as well is that my husband actually gets treated better by his Latino friends and families as well as by strangers because he is being seen as successful for marrying a white girl. It shouldn't be like that. In the end, we all handle it the same way as Steve and Irene, just by laughing it off and finding it funny. Thank you so much for all you do, and please, for the love of Vanillux and all that is frosty, please, please, please don't ever end the podcast, Michelle. Thanks.
That's really sweet.
That means a lot. I wish I had like an incident that happened to me over the weekend that I could tell, but no, just same boring. Just a boring interracial couple.
just like all couples.
Yeah, sometimes things happen though.
Just boring. Well, that's really sweet.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is from Toby. Just wanted to thank everyone for making the podcast a great show. This is the best source of Pokemon news, and I just love it overall. Thanks for a great year of Pokemon news and hopefully more to come. I started listening about last February from Toby. Thanks, man.
Hey, welcome.
This is from Dustin from Flagstaff, Arizona. Alola, I just had a couple of questions for all of you. First off, Steve has talked about introducing a sound type for several times on the show, so I was wondering which types would be super effective against sound type and which would not be very effective. Secondly, I want to tell you guys my all-time favorite Pokemon team, and I would like to hear which of them you like the best. My favorite Pokemon is Venonat, and the other 5 that I would have on a dream team would be Beedrill, Shuckle, Esper, Vespiquen, and Heatmore. Which of these 6 type of Pokemon do you prefer? Thanks for your show, Dustin. Sounds like Dustin loves some bug Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
Man, he has some good choices. I really like Mega Beedrill, but I also like Vespiquen, mostly because I like Combee a lot.
Yeah, I like Combee and Vespiquen just in the concept of the Pokemon.
Heatmore's pretty cool just because Heatmore has that like ultimate rivalry with Durant, which I find...
I do love that as well. It's like a weird kaiju relationship.
But yeah, all those sound great. I'll probably go with Beedrill.
I mean, I like that Vespiquen quite a bit. Is it Queen or Vespiquen? Isn't it like
it's Queen
not...
with one E, so
yeah,
it's probably skewed in some way.
Vespiquen? I don't know.
Did we talk
Pokemon
about this
names?
Speaking of Pokemon names, do you know Bidoof? Or Bidoof is what I always hear.
Yes.
But it's actually Bidoof.
Is it really?
That is what the anime has told me.
My whole life is a lie.
But it makes sense if you think about it, because Bidoof is a beaver.
Oh, man. So why isn't it like Bedoof? I guess that would be like Bidoof.
It's funny because when I go to like live shows and stuff, and probably when people listen to this and I say Pokemon names wrong, and they probably are very upset in their car that I'm pronouncing it wrong, I have never, ever heard a person say Bidoof.
Nope. Me neither.
And now I'm laying it out here. I'm like, this is the name. And there's going to be those listeners that are going to be like, no way, I'm just going to call it Bidoof because that's what I've always called it. And that's fine. But if you're the listener that is then correcting me when I say, Sunflora, I can't say Sunflora wrong. It's pretty easy. What's a name I mess up? I can't.
Vespiquen.
Vespiquen. I don't know what that is. It could be Vespiquen.
It could be.
A good one that I know, Arceus is what I hear a lot, but it's actually Arceus.
Right.
That I know for sure because of the anime. And then the other one that I hear people say wrong. Oh, Scizor. Some people say Scizor. I'm not sure what that one is yet. Scizor, Scizor. I don't know which one it is.
I've always said Scizor, and I've always said Arceus. I know that it's wrong. It's so ingrained at this point that it's hard for me to remember to not say it that way.
Another one is Rayquaza, because Rayquaza's actual pronunciation is... Do you know what it is?
No, I don't. I thought it was Rayquaza.
Nope, it's Rayquaza.
Rayquaza?
Yep.
I'm out of here.
So, at the end of the day, I really don't care how people pronounce Pokemon names, because if you say Rayquaza or Rayquaza or Scizor or Scizor, I still know exactly what Pokemon you're talking about. I just think it's kind of petty when people correct on that stuff.
Yeah.
Of like, clearly past the first 150 Pokemon to know Rayquaza, but you said it wrong. It's like, chill out. Like, we both like Pokemon. It's all right.
Just relax.
They're just dumb character names.
Relax, Buster.
But it is Bidoof. So.
I'm curious why they have never included in the Pokedex entries pronunciations. Why have they never done that?
I would assume because audio files take up way more.
No. Not like an audio file, like a I don't know the term for it, like a pronunciation breakdown.
Phonetic?
That's it. Phonetics breakdown of it. Why don't they include that in the Pokedex entry? They know that everybody's saying them wrong. Maybe that's why they don't, because they enjoy listening to everybody say them wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 2 or 3 voice actors from the anime on the show before, and every time I've asked them all the same question. It's like, how accurate are you guys pronouncing the names? And they have always said, like, they make sure that we are saying the right name before we, do the episode, whether that's, let's say they're introducing, I don't know, Metapod this episode. Make sure that they say it the way that the Pokemon Company wants it to be said.
If you're listening to this podcast and you are in charge of naming the Pokemon through localization, I have a lot of questions.
I want to know more about this.
I need to understand this process better.
Going back to the first question, what would sound type be strong and weak against? I don't know. I guess I never really thought that far.
I thought maybe sound type would be weak to steel.
All right. Yeah, I can see that. Steel doesn't
Or
have
it could be
like a lot
strong
of...
against steel if
So
it's
s-
causing
so-
vibrations.
So steel is only strong against ice and rock and fairy. So for steel to have another strength, I think you're onto something.
All right. Now, what about weakness, though?
I would probably say that sound would be weak against electric.
Or, wait,
Because the electric could...
weak to steel but strong to electric?
No, also weak to electric.
Oh, also weak to electric.
I feel like you have to have two weaknesses.
Okay.
So electric and steel would be its weakness.
What's the reasoning for electric?
Because, like, electric could distort the sound waves because of too much electricity.
Okay. Or speed, maybe? Speed of light versus speed of sound?
That's true. You're putting a lot of thought into this.
I mean, we're designing a new type here, essentially.
I would say that sound would probably be strong against bug,
Ear type.
because you can buy those, like, sound things to put in your basement to keep bugs out or other critters.
Oh, excuse me?
Like,
That's a thing?
Yeah, like there are these things you can plug in, or I'm sure there's disposable ones that when you plug it in, it emits this low frequency noise that keeps like bugs or rodents away from your basement. That's
interesting.
And probably strong against like flying as well. I don't know how unbalanced or balanced this is, or maybe flying would be strong against sound.
Yeah, the like weak to sound is where I'm having issues.
Well, if our listeners have any thoughts, please email us, and we'll share those.
Probably much better thoughts than we've had in the last
Well, we got put on the spot.
2 minutes.
I mean, I read that email initially, and I thought about it for a second, and then I was like, I'll think about it again when the podcast comes. How that panned out.
And here we are.
Let's jump over to our Pokemon of the Week. Based off of one of Pat's favorite Pokemon, we're going to do Snorlax this week. Snorlax, fun fact, 87.5% male, 12.5% female. One of those non-50-50 Pokemons that exist in the Pokemon universe. Got a moveset here from Kevin and Brandon in Slack. Looks like they work together a little bit. So if you're running a competitive Snorlax in the current format, you're going to want to do Brave Nature with 68 EVs in HP, 196 in attack, 244 in defense. The ability Gluttony, holding a Lappa berry, Lappa berry. There you go.
That's it. You got it.
If possible, you want 0 IVs in speed with the moveset Curse, Return, Recycle, and High Horsepower. That's actually my motto in life. First you curse, then you return, then you recycle, and then you just run high horsepower all the way home. Kevin writes, the Snorlax uses Curse to build up its attack and defense, heals up with the Lappa berry, and then can reuse it with Recycle. Lappa berry is great because it restores 50% of health while with the recommended nature. Gluttony pairs with it because Snorlax eats it at 50% health instead of the normal 25%. Oh, eats it at 50% instead of 25% left. Return is your stab move, same type attack bonus. High horsepower will get you your coverage. For partners, you're going to want to use this in a Trick Room team. Obviously, Snorlax being as slow as it is. And like a fine wine, you're going to want to pair Snorlax with Mimikyu for type coverage.
Yes.
Porygon 2 is also a good Pokemon to pair that with for, again, type coverage.
Nah, there's just Mimikyu.
So there you go. Move set there. A little competitiveness in your life. If you get a shiny Snorlax, it is a royal blue instead of that greenish blue that you normally get. In the Pokemon Stadium series, Snorlax opens their eyes when they faint. In Pokemon Snap, Snorlax stands up and dances to the music when the Pokeflute is used. and Heart Gold and Soul Silver if the player interacts with Snorlax that is walking with them at Mount Silver. The message, quote, Snorlax is feeling very eager, end quote, will appear. This is due to Red, who is also at Mount Silver, also owning a Snorlax. While the player on Mount Silver's unique message will also appear if the player interacts while walking with a Pikachu or a Charizard. Snorlax has the highest base stat total of all Pokemon that can hatch from an egg. In Pokemon Gold and Silver, Snorlax is programmed to be able to learn Charm through breeding, but no other Pokemon in the monster group can legitimately learn it to pass it down as an egg move in those games. In Generation 3, Snorlax can inherit the move from Bulbasaur by chain breeding. And finally, Snorlax is the heaviest normal type Pokemon.
Did you say in Stadium it opens its eyes when it gets knocked out?
Yes, and then it also says in later 3D games. So I don't know if that applies to Sun and Moon. I can't recall.
I don't think I've ever seen that animation.
I'm sure I've knocked out a Snorlax in Sun and Moon, but I don't remember it. There has to be.
I need to look into this. This is blowing my mind right now.
Some investigations. A little bit of house cleaning here. If you haven't heard about our Patreon, if you're a new listener and this is your first episode, we do have a Patreon for the show. Patreon.com/It's Super Effective. ITSSUPEREFFECTIVE. Or you can just go to PokemonPodcast.com and there's links there for that. But if you support us by giving us $1 a month, you do get access to our Slack community, which is a channel full of 300 other people, all talking about Pokemon and or about Donkey Kong, apparently. Otherwise,
Donkey Kong.
Only Donkey Kong recently. We do have a subreddit, reddit.com/r/supereffective. And if you haven't left us a review in iTunes, please do so. That helps other people find the show. Otherwise, if you've done all that, if you're some hardcore Pokemon podcast supporter, please take the time to tell a friend about our show. That would be very helpful. The more the listeners, the merrier, I believe they say on the streets.
Is that a street saying?
Yeah. I heard it last night.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, down the alley and such.
They just yell it to each other.
Yeah, it's where I get House Cleaning Digest. They told me about the mean streets of telling a friend.
And your 14 copies of Game Informer?
Yeah. Micah can be found on the internet at Micah the Brave. I can be found at Dragging a Lake. And if you want to stay up to date with the podcast, the best source of that is on Twitter at Pokemon Podcast. Otherwise, thank you, Micah, for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me.
This has been another...
I miss the host.
This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast. We are...
Super effective.
Just wanted to give a big shout out to Wally. You can check him out over at drunkontacos.com. And if you want to be part of the shout outs at the end of the episode, you can jump over to patreon.com/itssupereffective and sign up for the producer tier. But again, a shout out to Wally. You can check out his stuff over at drunkontacos.com.